Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day. I almost
Amen.
was surprised that we were doing the episode today. I was like, normally we don't. I don't think we've done a Memorial Day one. I think we always kind of
We've done July 4th ones before, Will.
No, we didn't. I never would do a 4th of July. That's one of my favorite holidays. I would never do the 4th of July episode. There's no way. Maybe you and Brandy did. I was not. I was not there. Dedication.
No days off.
Love it.
Consistency is key.
Yeah. Except for the best holiday in the freaking world. How you guys doing? You guys having a good week so far? Day off?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Relaxing. I have a big weekend next weekend. I kind of have like my holiday weekend next weekend. So I'm storing energy today.
Well, I enjoyed my time with you, Brandy, last week. We got to hang out in person. That was fun.
Yeah, I got to cook you dinner. That hasn't happened in
know.
all the years we've been friends. So that was
I
fun.
know. I had our
Sorry,
first
Michael.
true, real Brandy wine experience. It was awesome.
Complete
Yeah.
with wine and brandy.
We did have
Complete
wine
with
and we
wine
had
and-
Brandy.
All right.
Mhm. And lots of heat. The Miami
Yes.
weather is in full effect right now. It is summer officially.
And
Yes.
and no seafood though.
No seafood. I honestly was about to like go buy like a huge piece of salmon and some scallops, and then there's that detail.
You missed
Brandy's
out,
like,
Will.
I was like, what's on the menu for the Brandy wine experience? She was like, I'm thinking salmon. I was like, Brandy, I'm allergic. Remember, you booked our reservation in Barcelona where you told
Yeah.
them that I was allergic. I was like,
Listen, there's a
it's
lot
so
of
good.
information up
People
here.
can't keep up with your
Yeah.
food habits, Will.
I know. I was appreciating that. I'm glad I asked because if I showed up, I would have been sad. But we're good. Awesome, Michael. How are you doing? How's dad life?
Good. Boys weekend. So I survived. Didn't lose too much sleep, but had a good time. Yeah. All in all. Nothing wild,
Love it.
but we no injuries, no trips to the hospital. So
Big
Yeah.
win. I'm sure
We'll take
Kristen
it.
was excited for
We'll
that.
take it.
She was like, "Yes, I came back and no one's hurt. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Nothing's on fire." Awesome. Well, side note, I'm ready to come back to Denver. I don't know if I could ever stay in Florida this long again, FYI. So really pumped to get back. But I have a couple housekeeping items for the listeners. One, if you're on the live, say hello. We want to see what you're up to today. But two is not tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday, Boca Raton VRMA Executive Summit. If you're going to be there, come meet up. Selfishly trying to get with as many people. I booked a whole cabana for the day of the 30th. We're going to have a little fun in the sun. And then also, if you are around tomorrow, Tuesday, the 28th, at I think it's 4:30 EST. Let me check my actual calendar. But it is, yes, 4:30 EST. Operto, our good friends at Operto, are hosting their first Operate Summit, and I get to do a live panel. So wanted to give them a shout out. If you haven't signed up already, go sign up. And good morning, Terry White. Of course, we love seeing that you're on the live. And then, of course, Mr. Mark Simpson, Boostley from Barbados, tuning in. Love it.
Wow.
Those are my housekeeping items. Wanted to make sure that we got those quick shout outs in there before moving on to the episode. But we have a lot of topics today. Michael, I'm sure you look like you're ready to crank one out right now. So what's the first one we're going to cover?
Yeah, feeling good. Got some coffee. Record week for TSA. So we'll start there. I had no idea that this was like, I guess it makes sense. It's the first holiday of summer. So it was a record day on Friday where they screened 2.95 million individuals nationwide. which was a record set before the last Thanksgiving at 2.90. So travel is back, which is great. I don't know if that's trickling down to everybody everywhere, because they're, particularly in short-term rentals, we've talked about this a lot on the show. Supply has grown so much that even with record levels of demand, it is not, we're not seeing the end results in most markets. But that said, it is an expensive year to be traveling, and we'll get into some of those fees and topics there, but some high level numbers. Hotel prices are actually down 4% from, I believe, 2019 levels. Airfares are down 6% from last year. Car rentals are down 10%. So those are promising, but the average vacation is going to cost 15% more than it did before the pandemic, which is wild when some of those other costs are down and the vacation total as a whole is up. A lot of that goes towards food and dining. That's up 30% from pre-pandemic levels, and that's unavoidable. You go as a family of 4 anywhere, and unless you're in a short-term rental and you're cooking every meal, which is great to cook some meals, but I doubt people cook every meal, it's going to sting. So I think that's one of the biggest points. Brandy, you got anything to?
Yeah, I think it's also the experiences that you might be doing. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how, especially in Florida, like all the amusement park tickets are so much more expensive than they used to be. So even if your, airfare is slightly cheaper, it's like all the things that you're doing on vacation are more expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
so,
not just the airfare costs are down, but the fees are up. So I'm very curious what some of those numbers are. And then over the weekend, it definitely felt like gas has been slowly creeping back up, which isn't great.
yeah, there's a gas station I go to by my office, and the price I feel like fluctuates wildly every day. Like some days it's like really close to $3, like 3.15, 3.20, and then some days it's like 3.89. And so it's just constantly ping-ponging up and down. I kind of just let it happen. But I also have the luxury of like barely commuting. So I think, if you're doing a lot of driving, or if you're driving to your destination, or you're a vendor that has to like truck everything around and you're paying for that, it's definitely painful.
Yeah. And then one other quick stat before we jump into the fees side. We've talked about international travel over the summers. Last year was a boondoggle, and prices were insane. But I saw a report on CNBC this morning that 20% of international travel is going to be from the Gen Z population, which is a huge amount. And I think it was 42% of those Gen Z travelers are going to be financing that travel through debt.
That's not
So
surprising to me at all.
what could
No,
go
not at
wrong?
all.
What could go wrong?
Well, you
But
have this push
yeah.
for travel credit cards, and like there's all the, it's when I saw that, I mean, I was kind of like, yeah, everybody's putting their flights and their hotels on their Amex or their Chase Sapphire travel card or whatever.
Mhm.
And like all of like that demographic is now early 20s, mid 20s. That's like prime credit and forget it years. Which is obviously not good financial advice, but I'm like, yeah, like I kind of get it. Like,
And also, they have been known to be the experienced generation, not the generation that cares about things, right? They want to save up, they use their credit cards, go do the fun European travel trip. They want to go see and do things. They don't really care about the luxuries of owning a whatever, a Louis Vuitton bag and showing it off on Instagram, and then not being able to go anywhere with it because they can't afford it because they spent it on a stupid Louis Vuitton bag, So like they want to actually go and do things and have that experience, which makes sense. So
it's funny, you're starting to see the memes of like, I can't wait to watch all these people go to Europe this summer. It's like it's about that time. The first set of European vacations have started this weekend, I'm sure.
yeah, for sure.
And we'll start to see articles of vandalism and People literally falling off of things because they're trying to get the best selfie. So let's see.
I know.
Always a fun episode. Will, we chatted about this summer being the summer of fees.
Mhm.
And I know you love fees just as much as you love the tipping culture that we're in.
100%. I actually have a fun little story. I didn't think I was going to share it on today, but I think it goes perfectly with the tipping piece because I was on a date a little while ago, and yeah,
Ooh.
I know listeners are here's all the juicy goss. I was on a date in Denver, and great Thai place. Food was awesome. Service was pretty speedy. Had no issues. Right. Get the bill, and I normally never look at the bill. My date was in the bathroom, so I looked, and I saw like a 3.5%, 4.5% service fee charge, and I was like, service fee charge. Plus, they wanted me to tip. So I asked the waiter, I was like, what's this service fee charge? I'm just curious. I've never seen this on a receipt. We ordered a cocktail or dinner. I was kind of expecting that to be, well, minus some taxes here and there. And he's like, oh, that's for basically having me. And I was like, oh, so then I don't need to tip you. You get the service fee. And he's like, no, that goes to the restaurant. Okay, so why am I like, what? You're getting a service. The restaurant's getting a service fee for you to do your job. Yes. And I'm expected to tip you 20%, even though you barely talked to us, you barely did anything. You just gave us our food and took our order. That's it. Like there was nothing special. And he's like, yes. And I was like, interesting. Okay. I'm going to tip you because you're a nice guy. And like, obviously, like you can't control the restaurant, but I'm not paying that service fee. You can ask them to take it off, or you can just not expect me to pay it. And
Oh
I'll
my
give
gosh,
you
Will.
less of a tip. And well, thankfully she came back from the bathroom, and then I was like, fine, I was forced to pay it. But it was insane. I'm never going to that restaurant again because of that. I'm not paying a service fee for you to do your job.
I think that this kind of comes through. First, I would absolutely, you and I would have very different. I just throw the card down. It costs what it costs. The arguing with a waiter at the restaurant is just not a scene I like to be involved
I wasn't
in.
arguing, by the way. I was being very nice, but I was articulating my opinion in the sense of the restaurant is getting a service fee for you to do your job, and then I'm expected to tip you. That's what I was trying to get them to connect the dots with.
I think that this ties into what we were going to talk about with like the junk fees. Like, what does it actually cost to operate the business? And this is the problem: is that there is such sticker shock from like the increased cost of food, which those prices are already going up, but also the increased cost of labor. And also especially in restaurants, people aren't the tipping culture is a whole other thing that like we kind of created this monster. We made this bed and now we have to lie in it kind of situation. But like, what does it take to actually run the restaurant and just bake that into your food cost? Because people don't want to see, like, you just get agitated when you see a service fee, or have the service fee included and that's the tip. Like the final number is the
Yeah.
final number and you just pay that.
Exactly. And I'm happy paying higher food costs because at the end of the day, as a consumer, I made the decision and the choice to sit down at your restaurant, whether I looked at the menu or not, and saw your prices and I ordered what was off the menu based on that price. I made that choice and I should be happy with it. You should not, if you're a consumer and you're going out to a restaurant or a hotel and you're upset about the price, even though you know what you saw and you booked and you paid and you did all the things, that's on you. 100%. But I was kind of thrown off with that service fee where it's like, okay, that makes no sense. And I agree with you, Brandy. That should have been at the end, should have been included as part of the tip or something else where they just baked it into the actual rate or the actual cost of goods.
Yeah. In hospitality, like one of the core lessons is surprise and delight, not surprise and piss off. And the more fees that you keep adding to things, whether it's restaurants, short-term rentals, hotels, resort fees, city fees, blah, 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 like the more you add to it, the worse of an experience the traveler gets. And Will, I guarantee you, if that food costs 3% more, that $20 entree was $20.60, you wouldn't have cared. You wouldn't have even noticed. But instead, the restaurant chose to add a fee that was never disclosed, and now you're not going back over, presumably $1, right? Like it's all about expectations, meeting them, setting them, and if you can't surprise and delight, then it's a bad experience. And as a consumer, I'm taking the family down to the beach in a few weeks, and going and booking a short-term rental. I had the same experience. It's this is the price, and then you go to check out, and it's, how did it double? I don't understand that. Like, that's just, I'm not booking this because for some reason it doubled. And it's not just the cleaning fee, it's this fee, that fee, parking fee, reservation fee, processing fee. Like, how are you adding 5 fees to a 3 or 4 night booking? It doesn't make sense. And in that point, like, it actually was such a meaningful amount of money. It's like, I'll just find somewhere else. It's totally fine. So I do like the push. I love the push in Europe for transparent pricing. Like, as a consumer, that's all you want. And and without transparent pricing, excuse me, how do you go about booking your trip? It takes 2, 3, 4 times as long to book a trip without that transparent pricing.
Well, you know what really surprises and delights your guests is a fully stocked pantry. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to plug in Sojo, because when guests show up to a short-term rental, the most annoying thing that they have to discover is that there's not enough coffee, that there's not enough toilet paper, there's not enough paper towels, there's not enough of anything. And so our friends at Sojo have their pantry product where basically you as an operator can make sure they never have to walk in to a vacation rental and actually discover that there's not enough. There's always going to be fully stocked everything. You're going to have them taken care of, and they're going to leave you a solid review. And the best part about this is that it's all automated through Sojo's amazing technology. So basically, all you guys do is sync up their calendar and their service with you, and you make sure that your amenities are automated just like that. So go to getsojo.com/GMH to get 30 days for free. And we're back to the episode because that was one of my favorite segues there ever was. So,
you are
yeah,
the
got it.
segue king. But yeah, this we kind of are talking about these experiences of having these crazy add-ons, and with travel, like this summer I'm booking, I have a bunch of weddings in Europe, so I'm having these inter-European flights, and you start off, and everybody knows, like, if you're flying EasyJet or Ryanair, like, that base price is not the price. But even like Iberia, I'm flying Iberia, Vueling, and EasyJet, and all of those prices started off at like sub $100, some even as low as like 25. And then by the time I checked out, one of them was almost $300, the other one was 250, and you're like, yeah, like, it's so. And you know that with the budget airlines, but it doesn't make it like suck any less. And what I actually saw for the first time, like, I was used to like, oh, you pay this for like a carry-on suitcase and this for your checked luggage. But now Vueling, I think, and EasyJet both had 3 different types of checked baggage, like the weight of your checked bag. And I mean, I'm in Europe for like a month going to weddings. It's the biggest bag there is. And so I'm like, just an extra like $120 for each leg of the flight for the check bag. I was like, oh my God. And I think that that's the thing that really, like, the sticker shock is just like, I totally agree with you, Michael. Like, you going to book your short-term rental, and then and basically an extra night or more when you go to check out. The interesting thing about those fees, though, is like, and this is kind of on like a distribution side, is that sometimes the way you have your fees set up in your PMS, the OTAs won't have that same mapping. So like on Airbnb, for example, we have a damage waiver and a cleaning fee, but it just bundles those together as the cleaning fee.
Mhm.
And so it just looks like a huge cleaning fee when it's really 2 separate things. And so that, like, that kind of gets into like the nitty details, but it's like, that can be frustrating if you're like, as a consumer, why am I seeing this one giant fee when it's actually these different things, So it's
Yeah.
the whole fee structure is a little messy.
There's a great point on the distribution piece, though, because the mapping is not the same. And the way every OTA and listing site does it versus your Book Direct site or through your PMS when you have a actual sent receipt to the guest, it's very, very different and frustrating, because I can only imagine how every expectation with every guest on every OTA is now different, and you have to kind of communicate that in a different way every time. It can add a lot to your experienced staff and to just the whole team. So makes sense.
But
Well,
as a traveler, though, I don't care what this is. I just want to know the price. And if it feels like a consumer, it's a bait and switch. It's $300 a night times 3 nights. Okay, it should be $900 plus taxes. Well, now it's $1,500. Like that's not a good experience. Like I really don't care what all the fees mean. Just show me the price. So Europe, I hope we follow suit in that. Like I get as operators, there are different fees for different things, and who gets paid what. Paying the homeowner their rental revenue versus a damage waiver, you're not going to give them a cut of the cleaning fee because that's your staff, right? But at the same time, the consumer doesn't care.
Yeah, well, I think that this is like the other side where we're talking about it's becoming more expensive to go on these trips, but then revenues down, ADRs are down, and I think that that's where this is coming from, is that you can't bundle everything into your nightly rate, because it, like, in order to do that, everyone has to agree to do that across the board, and that's not going to happen. Everybody is, especially when there's so much supply, it is a bit of a race to the bottom in terms of your rates, and then you have to try to make that up somewhere. And so I'm not saying that that's like how it should be, but that is kind of like the reality that you're in right now. And then from the stats that you mentioned at the top of the episode, I would be curious to know if those, like the airfare prices, for example, if that's all inclusive or if that's the rates that they're charging, because much like your nightly rate, those airfares might be lower, but then you're getting charged with, like, are you going from basic economy to main economy? Are you adding a bag or whatever? So I wonder what the like aggregate price is actually, and if that has gone down since 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of wrapping up and summarizing this fee topic as we move on to our next one. If you do get yourself into a situation where you're like, man, there's a bunch of junk fees I did not expect or see, here's the best advice I've read so far on what to say, especially when it's a stupid junk fee that you don't have to pay. It's not a tax, it's not a cleaning fee, it's not anything like that. It's a 4.5% service charge or whatever on your bill. Tell them that my standard of dealing with thieves is to walk away, and then just don't pay the bill. See you later. Adios.
I feel like we need a disclaimer at the episode.
No, it was in an article
go
on
to
how this
jail.
guy. No. I was saying that I'll give some context. In the article that we're reading about junk fees, this guy that basically told this restaurant that he got slammed with a beef cost surcharge for his chicken dinner. He basically told them is like, my standard of dealing with thieves is to walk away, and then he said that they took the charge off the bill. So, yeah, it was a good comment. I liked it. I got a lot of joy from reading that. I got a lot of joy.
One last semi-satirical but semi-serious question for you, Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get the gamification of the OTAs. So why not price all of your units at $49 and just add the room rate to the cleaning fee?
Oh, well, then that's like exorbitant, like that. You have to have the cleaning fee does have to be realist. And that's actually something that we monitor a lot more closely now, are our cleaning fees on par with like the market? Because so the cleaning fee has to make sense. If you're in a 5-bedroom home, yeah, it's probably going to be a couple $100. That's a lot to clean, but like we can't make up the room rate on a 2-bedroom by making the cleaning fee $500, So it's but that is, yeah, I mean, you could just like price everything super low and then charge people with a huge cleaning fee, but I don't think that would. I think you would
A/B
see.
test it. Take one unit, Brandy. I want you to test this for us.
Yeah. Okay.
At the cost of Romy.
Drop it by $100 a night and add it to the cleaning fee.
I'll let you know. I'll talk to distribution about that.
Yeah, Doug
Try one.
Truitt.
Yeah.
I know you're listening. Doug.
Let's test it. What could go
Awesome.
wrong?
Okay, well, we did have other topics for this episode, but we're getting close to the 30 minutes. We'll try to make this one quick. Brandy, let's talk about it. You're the one that kind of pushed this into the group chat. Google and OTA online travel. What's the impact?
Yeah, I guess kind of like the TLDR is that, all the OTAs and all of us are kind of beholden to Google, and it's been this big black box of information. We don't really know how things exactly are working, and Google is getting into travel. I always use Google Flights, all of that kind of stuff, Google Hotels. And so basically there's this great podcast on Skift that talks about how it was particularly Expedia and Booking they spend a ton of money to have sponsored ads and to appear high in rankings and all of that stuff. But then Google is making it easier for independent operators or, basically not the OTAs to distribute their product on Google, which is fragmenting the market, which a meta search engine like Google really loves. And so Booking and Expedia want people to quote book direct on their site and not go through Google, but they can't really stop spending on Google because then they're going to lose the placement, but then they're also kind of losing traffic to regular operators through Google because the direct sites are appearing. It's like this very, they call it an abusive relationship. And it kind of is, because Google is winning by providing, a service to smaller operators that's like getting them more visibility and more direct bookings. But then Google's also winning because you have these giant public companies who can't afford to like test the waters and see if they pull back their marketing spend, what would happen. So it's, that's kind of the general idea. And it's Google is really, we're very much like entrenched in this Google ecosystem, and there's not really a lot you can do about it. Even if, Booking and Expedia with all their money and power are kind of at the will and whim of Google.
Michael, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, Google is as anti-competitive behavior as it possibly gets. Like, there is nothing even remotely close to it. Google is why that law got put into place 100 years ago, right, with, I think, Standard Oil, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is as clear-cut of a case as any, if anyone wanted to challenge it. But Google probably is in the pocket of every politician in the country as to not do that. So on both sides of the aisle. So as a consumer, the consumer actually in this case often wins, which is the interesting part. It's the purchaser or the customer of Google that loses. So the end consumer gets the best search results, the most likely, for what they're looking for. But it's the people that are paying the ads that go into this black box on how do I do organic SEO versus paid versus ads versus YouTube versus like all of Google's different ecosystem. And then at the end of the day, at least in hospitality, Google's right there competing with you. Google Flights, Google Hotels, Google Vacation Rentals. They're now not only a black box of whatever money you're throwing at them, but now they're competing with you. So it's a slippery slope. And we talked about it a little bit before the show, but it feels like the frog in the pot, where the temperature is just very gradually getting turned up. I remember first hearing about Google and vacation rentals in 2016, I think. And, since then, the temperature's just slightly been turned up a little more and a little more every year. So yeah, let's see. I like it as a consumer. I don't like it as someone who has Google ads up and running.
Brandy, you made a comment before the show. It's really hurting the big OTAs, right? Like Expedia, Airbnb, Booking, etc. But this smaller operator, it's actually kind of helping their book direct initiative. Would you think that it's going to continue to be on that side, like where it's going to continue to help the individual, the company, property management company? Obviously can't really speak for short-term rental hosts individually who are just on Airbnb or anything like that, but do you think it's eventually going to just squash all parties?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to say, but I think it is a big case for diversifying your revenue streams or your distribution streams, because this is like, if you are overly committed on your direct site and then Google changes something, like right now it might be favoring the smaller hosts or the smaller distributors and the fragmentation, but like it was also favoring the OTAs for a really long time, and they, and now it's not. So like that can just change, and you don't, there isn't really a heads up on that. But I think it's something to like take advantage of now while you can. But again, don't put all your eggs in that basket.
For sure. For sure. I do want to say, actually, Michael, you go ahead. We'll move on to the next part.
One last thing. Shout out to our boy Jamie Lane getting in the New York Times over the weekend. Why are New York City hotel rooms so expensive? Well, for one, there's 16,000 rooms being used as migrant shelters. For two, Airbnb was kicked out. So there were a reduction of 83% of rooms available from there. And now the city is like, there's so much increased demand. That's what's driving the price up. So
people want to be in New York right now. That's why. That's what they're all thinking.
Government at its best. Yeah.
It's
Look at how many people we're bringing into the city. Hotel prices are $800 a night.
I have to say though, you got to give your props to the hotel lobby because this is the fruits of their labor right now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of lobbying, one of the topics we didn't get to cover today was around booking.com or Booking Holdings, the parent company of booking.com, increasing their lobbying efforts. And, it's very interesting because Expedia for the longest time was the bigger advocate or lobbyist, basically, which is interesting because they have Vrbo. So it's like, okay, how do they play that game of hotels and short-term rentals, especially when Vrbo specifically is made for the bigger single-family home type inventory. But again, that's a topic that we'll probably have to cover on another episode. We didn't get to it today, but Booking.com, Booking Holdings, they're getting more budget spent into the lobbies. So should be interesting to watch.
Politicians surprised by the most basic economics there is. You decrease supply and price.
Well, I don't think it's surprise. I think I don't think that was a surprise. Feigned innocence.
Publicly surprised.
I would give our politicians less credit than you then, Brandy.
Maybe.
And this is why we don't go into politics on this show, guys. I'm just kidding. All good. Yeah. So it's interesting week ahead, but I'm curious. I'm going to be in Boca. I'm taking the Bright Line on Wednesday morning. Really excited for that experience. I got the premium class. Anything you guys are looking forward to this week?
I have my sister's bachelorette party in Miami. So next Monday morning,
The
if I look tired,
saga.
don't say anything. I'm playing hostess. So they're staying at one of our properties, planned all the stuff. Real classic Miami weekend. So
Which
go easy
property
on me.
does Brandy choose for her own sister's bachelorette party?
Our Collins Ave penthouse it's like 2 blocks from the beach, has a pool. It's pretty wowing when you walk in. So
nice.
Yeah. Getting the ACs checked this week.
Yeah, love that.
Can't have those go.
Yeah, doing all the things. I love it. It's the Brandy wedding saga has just officially begun, I think. So
yeah,
all of our listeners, get ready. Every week she's going to be at a wedding. It's going to be fun. We might get a couple good ones while she's away internationally. So
yeah,
should be good. Michael, anything for you?
Nope. Just moving the balls forward.
Love it. Head down, start grinding, or keep grinding. Also, actually, next week, June 5th, I'll be in New York. Speaking of New York, for the Skift short-term rental conference, if anyone else is going to that. So if you're going to be in Boca this week or New York next week.
Can I recommend a short-term rental in Jersey?
How long? Yeah, no. I'll be staying in a hotel for this one, but all good stuff. Great episode today, you guys. For all of our amazing listeners, Paul, I saw you on the LinkedIn, Terry White, Jeremy Weiss, Mark Simpson. We see all of you guys tuning in on this holiday Monday. I know we said happy Memorial Day in the beginning of the episode, but thank you to all of those who have served, and we give a moment of respect to those who have fallen and serve our country. So really thankful to be in the country we are in. And of course, like always, our GMH Europe crew goes live tomorrow, aka midnight tonight, EST, or actually 2 a.m. EST, midnight Denver time. That's what I'm used to. And then our hotel crew will be live this Wednesday. So make sure to tune into the other GMHs out there, and we'll see you guys all again very, very, very soon.